You've done everything right. You waited for your setup. You entered at the right level. You set your stop loss. You set your profit target. You're in the trade.
Now what?
This is the question most trading content never answers. They teach you how to enter. They teach you where to exit. But that gap in the middle, the time between when you click buy and when the trade closes, that's where most beginners fall apart. They don't know what to do. So they either stare at the screen refreshing every 30 seconds, making emotional decisions with every candle, or they set it and forget it completely, missing situations where adjusting the trade would have protected their profit or reduced their loss. Managing a trade after you enter is a skill on its own, and today I'm going to teach you the simple rules for doing it correctly so you're not flying blind between entry and exit. Quick thing first, I created the Professional Trader's Emergency Protocol. One of the most useful sections covers what to do when a trade is moving against you and you feel the urge to break your rules. Link in description. Free. If you're following this series, this is the next step after learning how to set stops and profit targets. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Let's learn how to manage trades. When you're in a trade, only 3 things can happen. Price moves in your direction toward your target. Price moves against you toward your stop, or price moves sideways and does nothing. Each situation requires a different response. But for beginners, the default response should almost always be the same: do nothing. Let me say that again because it's counterintuitive. For most of the time your trade is open, the correct action is no action. You've already made your decision. You set your entry, your stop, and your target. The plan is in place. Your job now is to let the plan play out without interference. Most beginners think active management means using the trade constantly and adjusting it as the market moves. But that's not active management. That's emotional interference. Every time you adjust the trade based on how it looks in the moment, you're making a new decision with less information and more emotion than when you originally set up the trade. Usually that's worse. Professional traders describe trade management as mostly waiting. You wait for specific predetermined conditions to trigger an action, not feelings, conditions. The conditions are decided before the trade opens. So what are those conditions? There are 3 main things you can do while in a trade. You can move your stop loss to protect profit. You can partially close the trade to lock in some gain, or you can close the trade early if something specific and concrete changes. Let me break down each one. The first thing you can do is move your stop loss to protect profit. This is also called trailing your stop. Once price moves significantly in your direction, you move your stop closer to the current price. The goal is to lock in profit so that even if the trade reverses, you exit with a win instead of a loss. The key word is significantly. You don't trail your stop after every 5 pip move in your favor. You wait for a meaningful move. A general rule for beginners is this: once price has moved enough that you could move your stop to your entry price and still give the trade room to breathe, that's when you consider trailing. Moving your stop to your entry price is called moving it to break even. At this point, your worst case scenario on the trade becomes 0. You can't lose. Even if it reverses all the way back to your entry, you exit flat. No profit, no loss. This is psychologically valuable because it removes the fear of losing on a trade that's already been going your way. After moving to break even, if price continues moving in your direction, you can trail the stop further. How? By following the same logic as your original stop placement. If you're in an uptrend trade, your stop should stay just below the most recent swing low. As price makes new higher lows, you move your stop up to just below each new higher low. You're always protected by the most recent structure. But here's the important rule: only move your stop in the direction of the trade. If you're in a buy trade, stops only move up, never back down. If you're in a sell trade, stops only move down, never back up. This ensures you're always locking in more profit or reducing risk, never giving back protection you already had. The second thing you can do is partially close the trade. This means you exit half your position at a certain level and let the other half run. Some traders like this because it removes some emotional pressure. Once you've taken partial profit, the trade feels less stressful. You're already banking some gain. Let me give you a practical example. You entered with 2 contracts. Price reaches halfway to your target. You close one contract and lock in partial profit. Now you move your stop on the remaining contract to break even. You've guaranteed yourself some profit no matter what. And you still have a position running toward your full target. This approach is useful for beginners because it makes it easier to hold trades to their targets. The emotional pressure of holding a full position drops once you've taken some money off the table. You feel less desperate. You stop watching every tick. But there's a downside. Partially closing reduces your overall profit if the trade reaches your full target. If you closed half early, you made less than if you'd held everything. So partial closing is a trade-off between certainty of some profit and potential for full profit. Which approach should you use? Full target versus partial close? Start with full target. It's simpler. It's more consistent. You have a plan, you follow it, you exit at target. Once you're comfortable with that, you can experiment with partial closes to see how it affects your psychology and your results. The third thing you can do is close the trade early if something specific and concrete changes. This is different from closing early because you're scared or greedy. This is closing early because the reason you entered the trade no longer exists. What kind of thing changes the reason? A few examples. You entered because price was bouncing off support. While you're in the trade, you see a large news announcement is coming in 5 minutes that could move the market sharply. You might close early to avoid the unpredictable news volatility. Or you entered an uptrend trade. While you're in it, price suddenly breaks below a major support level that changes the entire structure of the chart. Your uptrend reason is gone. These are concrete reasons to close early, not feelings, not the fact that you're nervous. Specific, observable things that change the logic of your trade. If you can't articulate a concrete reason to close early, you don't close early. You let your plan play out. Now let me explain the single biggest mistake beginners make in trade management. Moving the stop loss further away from entry when price moves against them. You're in a trade. It moves against you. It's getting close to your stop. You think, maybe I just need to give it more room. Maybe it'll turn around. So you move your stop further away. You just gave yourself more room to lose money. Price hits your new stop. You move it again and again. What was planned as a $50 loss turns into $300. This is the most destructive thing you can do to a trade. Your stop was placed at the level where your trade idea is proven wrong. If price is approaching that level, your trade idea might genuinely be wrong. Moving the stop doesn't fix the trade. It just delays the loss and makes it bigger. Here's the mental shift you need. A stop being hit is not a failure. It's information. The market is telling you the trade idea didn't work this time. That happens. Moving the stop just means you're refusing to listen, and the market always wins eventually. Let me also address the opposite mistake. Closing a trade too early because you're nervous. You're in a winning trade. Price pulls back slightly. You panic and close it before it reaches your target. Price then continues to your target without you. You left significant profit behind. A pullback inside a trade is normal. Price never goes straight from entry to target. It wiggles. It breathes. It takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back. A normal pullback does not mean the trade is failing. It means the market is moving normally. How do you tell the difference between a normal pullback and an actual reversal? Look at your stop loss. If price is pulling back but hasn't hit your stop, the pullback is inside the normal range you planned for. It's noise. You stay in. If price hits your stop, you exit. The stop is your signal, not your feelings, not your anxiety, the stop. This is why the stop placement matters so much. If you placed your stop correctly at a structural level, a pullback that doesn't reach the stop is just normal volatility. You stay in. The stop handles the decision for you. You don't need to decide anything. Let me give you the simple framework for managing trades. Before you enter, you decide 3 things. Where you'll exit if wrong, which is your stop. Where you'll exit if right, which is your target. And what specific condition would cause you to trail your stop or partially close. You write these down. They become your trade management plan. While you're in the trade, you only have 2 jobs. First, don't interfere unless a condition from your plan is triggered. Second, if a condition is triggered, execute the planned action without hesitation. That's it. You're not watching every candle trying to decide what to do. You're waiting for conditions and executing planned actions. Everything else is just patience. For beginners, I recommend keeping it even simpler. No partial closes, no trailing stops at first, just entry, stop, and target. Enter the trade, leave it alone, exit when stop or target is hit. This builds the habit of following a plan without interference. Once you're comfortable doing that consistently, you add more sophisticated management. The reason to start simple is this. The more decisions you have to make during a trade, the more opportunities there are for emotion to interfere. Every decision point is a chance to break your rules. When you start simple with just entry, stop, and target, there are very few decision points. Emotion has less opportunity to wreck your trade. Let me address the question of checking your trades. How often should you look? The answer depends on your time frame. If you're trading daily charts, checking once per day is enough. If you're trading hourly charts, checking every few hours is reasonable. If you're trading 5-minute charts, you'll need to be more active. But for most time frames, the best rule is check your trade when your pre-planned review time comes. not randomly throughout the day, not every 10 minutes because you're anxious, at your scheduled times. Outside of those times, the trade is running on autopilot. When you do check, you're asking one question. Has a condition from my trade management plan been triggered? If yes, execute the planned action. If no, close the platform and move on. This structure eliminates the emotional roller coaster of watching every tick. You check at scheduled times. You execute planned actions if triggered. You close the platform, you live your life. The trade runs. So to wrap this up, after entering a trade, the three things you can do are trail your stop to protect profit, partially close to lock in some gain, or close early if something concrete and specific changes. The biggest mistake is moving stops further away when price approaches them. The second biggest mistake is closing early because of normal pullbacks. Your trade management plan should be decided before you enter. You write down your stop, your target, and what specific condition triggers an adjustment. While in the trade, your only jobs are don't interfere unless a condition is triggered, and execute planned actions when conditions are met. Start simple. Just entry, stop, and target. Let the plan play out. Add trailing stops and partial closes once you're consistently following your basic plan. The stop handles your decisions for you. If price hits it, you exit. If it doesn't, you stay in. Trust the structure you built before you entered. That structure was built with logic. What you feel during the trade is emotion. Logic wins. Subscribe for the next video in the series. We're continuing to build practical trading skills step by step. Grab the emergency protocol from the description. It's what you use when you're in a trade and your emotions are trying to override your plan. Trade management is mostly patience. Set the plan. Follow the plan. Let the market do the rest.